YouTube, what's going on? Second City Sleepers here once again, bringing you a general wrestling discussion. Tonight we're going to talk about our top 5 wrestlers who have never won the 2 main titles of wrestling, which is the WCW title, which would now be known as the, or used to be known as the World Heavyweight title, or the WWE title, even though they're both combined now, but they're, yeah. But number 5 for that list, we got to go Razor Ramon. And he never had the WCW title when he was in WCW. He never had the WWF title. I mean, it's hard to put him that far back at number 5, but
with Razor Ramon in WWE at the time, he was one of the best Intercontinental Champions of all time.
Oh yes,
him and Shawn Michaels had the greatest matches of all time. Even, the ladder match at WrestleMania, what was it, 10?
Yeah.
And
was it 10? Yeah, it was 10.
It stole the show at 10, and the first ever ladder match on pay-per-view. I mean, you ask Bret Hart, who really had the first ladder match, Bret Hart would tell you something different. That's just Bret Hart, and we still love him, but that's Bret. So,
yep.
Yeah, he was great in WWE, and never became main eventer. So close, like he was there, and then he left to go to WCW. Even bigger in WCW than he was in WWE, WWF at the time with the New World Order. And we were just talking about before we started, I was like, with the craziness of Vince Russo and Kevin Nash and Hogan and the NWO, when then they went to, red and black versus black and white.
That was my favorite part of WCW when they did that.
And then that whole craziness, I was like, did Scott Hall ever win the world title? And we looked it up, and no, he never did. So that's why he's at our number 5.
Yes, and he actually probably could be a little higher, but it was one of our. We were flipping around like 4 or 5 people for our 5th spot.
Yeah, and
yeah, Razor Ramon, Scott Hall's number 5 on our list. Moving on, number 4, we're gonna have to put Goldust. Never won the major title. He's had the tag titles. He's had the Intercontinental title.
WCW, he had a very hard time when he left WWE. They called him 7 at one time. He came out flying. I mean, WCW did not know how to. To be honest with you, the best gimmick Goldust or Dustin Reynolds, Dustin Rhodes, whatever you wanted to call him, his best gimmick ever was Goldust, and he flourished as Goldust. Had one of the great matches at WrestleMania. I don't know, was it that 10 too? Or was it 11? One of the WrestleManias against Piper in the Backstreet Brawl match with him and Piper.
I think it was a little past 10.
What? Maybe it was 13, maybe? 12, 13?
12 or 13.
I think it might have been 12. It was the same time as OJ running from the cops, because they used that footage when Goldust hopped into his car, and then
wasn't that
Piper
90? Wasn't that 96?
Yeah. So whatever WrestleMania.
I think it was 95, 96. That was probably that was around WrestleMania 12.
12. Okay, I'll go with 12. But regardless, Goldust, a hell of a performer. Even when he had a hard time with Terry, his real life baby's mama.
Yeah.
Married her, got divorced. Put on a little weight, but every time he was Goldust in the ring, he's a hell of a great wrestler and a good talker for the Goldust gimmick. Yep. I mean, he, as Goldust, can talk.
He's the only man that can or could ever do that character. It's the only guy.
It's phenomenal. And
right now, he's in better shape than he's ever been.
And he's still a hell of a wrestler, and I think it's awesome that WWE is still giving him a job, because he deserves it. And when he goes in the ring, he puts 110% all the time in the ring. And he's number 4.
Yeah.
Never winning. Excuse me. The heavyweight, WCW, WWE heavyweight championship, and he was one of the greats. And he's number 4, so he's got to be really good.
Yeah.
In our opinion.
Yeah. If you guys have a different top 5, go ahead and put it down in the comments below.
Love to hear.
Really want to hear your guys' opinions on this, but I'm going on number 3. I don't know a lot about this guy. I know Bill knows tons about this guy, so I'm going to let him go on the rant about him.
Tito Santana.
There you go.
Tito was, I mean, back in the day, like 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, something around there, he was a huge singles wrestler. Won the Intercontinental title a couple times. I think he was actually the 4th or 5th Intercontinental champion of all time. Do your do your background check on that. I'm not sure, but he was one of the first top. I'll go top 10 Intercontinental champions to win it. The first 10, to win it. He great Intercontinental champion, awesome, and then he became a tag team member with Strikeforce with Rick Martel. Strikeforce was a great tag team, won the World Tag Team titles, lost it eventually at WrestleMania 4 against Demolition.
Yeah.
And then Tito Santana and Rick Martel went their separate ways. Rick Martel kind of had a better career for a good year and a half, and that's about it. When he was the model, Tito Santana was still doing his thing, and then WWE Creative had this genius idea to make him El Matador, Tito Santana, and just kind of flushed his career down the toilet then. But he never got fired. He was always in the mainstream. He was in the early 80s, mid 80s. He could have been one of the guys that just out of nowhere win the world title. If there was Money in the Bank in that time, Tito Santana won the Money in the Bank at one time because he was that good. The flying forearm at the time, I loved it. It was the best wrestling move, one of the best wrestling moves I ever seen. That and the DDT and the pile driver and all these, the sharpshooter at the time, even though Bret Hart didn't really put it into play as much as he did when he became a singles wrestler. But if Tito Santana was around when Money in the Bank was around, he would have won it, cashed it in. Maybe he wouldn't have been a champion that long, but he would have been a heavyweight champion. And that's how good I think Tito is. That's why I put him in at where he is on this list.
So I'll have to go look him up because
watch his old stuff. He's
very little about him.
He was really good, really good.
I only know him by the name. I've never seen anything that he's done.
Mexican wrestler, so you gotta give it up to the Mexicans a little bit.
But we're gonna move on. We're gonna have number 2 here. We're gonna have Mr. Perfect.
Yes.
Number 2.
It's a tough decision with
Very
this one.
very tough of 1 and 2 with this actually. Now that I'm looking at it.
But Curt Hennig, number 2.
There's not much you can say about Curt Hennig. I mean, he bowls a 300. he makes a basketball. He makes a shot in a basketball court, shooting it backwards. Guy is perfect. I think we're about to be killed by someone again. Anyway, but
Curt Hennig was.
He had that 5-tool thing.
Yes,
he could do everything.
And he was pretty good on the mic, even though
he was great on the mic. I wish his kid was.
His kid's horrible. Because his kid don't even have the look either.
No.
And why comb your hair like that? I mean, seriously. But the crazy thing is about Curt Hennig is when he was Mr. Perfect and he had probably the longest undefeated streak in professional wrestling history. But you gotta no, I'm telling you people, look that back. Cross check that or whatever you got to do.
He had it longer than Goldberg.
See, I don't know. I'm saying because when Curt Hennig debuted,
find this out right now.
See, we're up to date right now. So, but Curt Hennig debuted. Well, the first time I saw him was WrestleMania 4, and he just wore the regular tights and boots. He didn't have the singlet that he was portraying when he became Mr. Perfect with Bobby Heenan. And a lot of people were like, well, Curt Hennig didn't really talk that good, so let's bring Bobby Heenan in. So Bobby Heenan became his manager, Curt Hennig became Mr. Perfect.
Curt Hennig was in TNA.
And,
finding out something new right now.
But Curt Hennig had get that extra boost because he wasn't great on the mic. He was decent, but he wasn't great. So then, introduce Bobby the Brain Heenan. Bobby the Brain Heenan talked the best manager of all time. And then right after Bobby the Brain Heenan took over Curt Hennig, he became Intercontinental Champion. Curt Hennig, Mr. Perfect, became Intercontinental Champion. And it was just nothing but he was a great in-ring performer. He could talk decent, but he always had that manager with him, so that's good. Just a hell of an athlete. Like, I could see him being like ravishing Rick Rude back in the day with Bobby Heenan was the new Kurt Hennig. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I can see that.
Like, Bobby Heenan knew that your top mid-carders, intercontinental guys could be number one contenders, number one world championship contenders. And Kurt Hennig was that guy, and sad to say his life ended way too early, but he was one of the best that never won a WCW or WWE world title. And he's one of the guys I can see winning it that could had a little run. Not one of the guys that could win the Money in the Bank.
Says Hennig went on an undefeated streak for a little over a year. Doesn't give the exact days, but I'm pretty sure Goldberg was around the same time. So,
yeah. And at the time, I think Goldberg probably wrestled a lot more matches just because of the schedules at the time. But Kurt Hennig was the first guy that people were like, "Ooh, he's still undefeated. He's still perfect."
Goldberg had 173 victories.
Yeah, I don't think Kurt Hennig had it.
No, I don't think he had that many. So that's Goldberg.
Just
probably
because
had
of
more,
the schedules at the time.
Yeah,
when Goldberg came in, I mean, they wrestled, out of 365 days, they wrestled 350 days a year. So Goldberg won every match that year. So, but that's why he's number 2. He's a hell of a wrestler, and like I said,
he's probably my top 5 of all time.
Yeah, he's not the guy that would have won the Money in the Bank and then lost it a week later. When he won the world title,
he wouldn't have been in the Money in the Bank. He should have been the one that was up there and winning the title.
Yeah,
period.
He would have been the guy that had won the world title and actually defended it for a good year, and then eventually lost it and seen what happened. He would have been the Bret Hart.
Yeah,
even Bret Hart were the same. Shawn Michaels, they were all the guys. Those were the guys in the early '90s before the Attitude Era.
I would honestly put Henning's talent above Bret Hart's.
Well, I'm a big Bret. I think Bret Hart.
So
awesome,
I love Bret Hart too, but
it's close.
It's very close.
They put on some hell matches.
Yeah.
But for some reason, Bret Hart had a little more staying power. I don't know why, but it just happened that way. Maybe it was because of WWE's writing talent, and they just pushed Bret more than. Because Kurt Hennig went to WCW, it was like, oh, Kurt's in WCW.
And then
Bret Hart went to WCW, or like, oh my God, Bret Hart's in WCW.
Yeah.
So it's all the path road taken too.
Yep.
I mean, if Bret Hart never got screwed in Montreal and he went to WCW, would it have been that big of an impact? Maybe it still would have been a big impact, but not as big. Just because
still Bret Hart,
he's coming off
it would still have been a big impact.
But he's coming off the biggest screw job of all time.
Yeah.
But
that had a little bit to do with it.
Top. He was awesome.
But moving on now, we are gonna recap our 5 through 2 before we get to number 1. Number 5 we had Razor Ramon, of course. Number 4 we had Goldust. Number 3 was Tito Santana, and we just talked about it. Number 2 was Kurt Hennig. Also want to get into a couple honorable mentions. First one we're going to talk about going to be
Magnum TA.
Yeah, Magnum TA.
Old school WCW fans know Magnum TA. One of the greatest United States champions of all time. Got in a terrible wreck. Don't quote me on if it was a car or a motorcycle, but he got in a terrible accident on the road. Changed his life forever. Never. If you talk to anybody back in the mid '80s, Magnum TA was going to be the next Ric Flair. Dusty Rhodes. Dusty Rhodes was huge in WCW.
Yeah, it was.
Terry Funk, Ricky Steamboat was huge, and it was Magnum TA. It was going to take that next step to become one of the top WCW heavyweight champions of the world. Got in a terrible car accident. Never recovered from it. Tried. Great athlete. Had to look. I mean, he had the look at the time. Now, he's like, if you look at him, if everybody sees him now, and they're like, oh, really, this guy? But to just listen to what everybody talks about and how he wrestled. He was a hell of an athlete, and he could talk pretty decent too for back in the day. I mean, Ric Flair just blew everybody out of the water, so you can't compare him to Ric Flair. You can't compare anybody to Ric Flair back in the '80s, except Terry Funk was pretty good, but Dusty Rhodes was just awesome. Dusty Rhodes was just phenomenal. Couldn't spar with Ric Flair in the talking wise, but Magnum TA was really, really good. But horrible accident happened. He was never the same. Couldn't wrestle the same. But that's my.
It would have been interesting to see what would have happened if none of that ever went down with the accident.
Yeah, to see what
See how he
how
would,
big his name would have
yeah.
been in professional wrestling. Now, it's not a lot of, like you said, a lot of, like you barely kind of know him. There's a lot of people that
I know the basics of them.
Yeah,
like
I
the
mean,
crash and that stuff. That's all I know
and
about it, really.
Yeah, like you said, it'd be interesting to see if that never happened, how we would talk about him now, compared to if that accident did happen. You know, if it didn't happen.
Yeah.
You know.
But anyway, our second and last honorable mention, there was a few more that we talked about, but we just want to throw out a couple names. Our second honorable mention is going to be Owen Hart. And it's guy. His in-ring skills were slim to none. They were outstanding. His mic skills weren't that. They were okay. The fact that he never got a major title, even if it would have been for a short time, kind of disappointing, especially how his life ended so shortly. You know, it's very saddening. He had tons of great matches, even when he would face his brother.
Oh,
it was Jesus.
WrestleMania 10.
Yeah, thank you. Yes,
he beat Bret Hart.
He beat Bret. That was an amazing match.
First match, and it was a hell of a match. It was, watch that match over and over again. It was a hell of a match. Glued to your seat the whole time.
Yep.
Or to the TV or wherever you're gonna watch it. It was a hell of a match, and Owen ended up winning.
And no, that was back before you had all the internet stuff, and no one could see what happened.
Yeah.
Nobody expected Owen to win that, and sure enough.
Yeah, it was a shocker, and then the shocking thing is that Bret Hart ended up that night winning the world title from Yokozuna at the end of that night.
Yep.
And then had everybody hold their shoulders.
Was that the whole Hogan thing or whatever?
No, that was WrestleMania 9. Bret Hart, they gave Bret Hart the key to the mint again. That was WrestleMania 10. WrestleMania 10, Bret Hart had to wrestle 2 matches. Okay. Yokozuna won it again. Won the world title again. So Yokozuna was going to go against Bret Hart for the main event regardless. But Owen Hart was like, I'm going to prove myself to the wrestling world, to my brother, that I can beat him. First match at WrestleMania 10, you know, because it's number 10, so it was Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
It was Owen Hart versus Bret Hart. Hell of a match, and Owen Hart ended up beating him. So they were like, well, you know, Bret Hart, lick your wounds, you lost to your brother. And then see, that's where WWE kind of dropped the ball there, because they could have had the biggest, like, brother versus brother. I beat you the night you won the world title. They could have had like a year feud if they wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
Like, make Owen Hart like the biggest, baddest mother, you know, biggest heel though, because he comes off of a heel more than Bret does.
Yeah, oh yeah. Owen played a really great heel.
And they dropped the ball with it. And I don't even know how that ended. Bret Hart won the world title that night against Yokozuna, and then I think him and Bret did a couple things here and there, and then.
Well, see, it would have been great with that. They could have, when Bret Hart won the title, they could have done a whole feud with, you know, Owen coming out saying, you know, blah blah. Well, I beat you at WrestleMania, so I should get a shot at the title. They could have had an amazing like feud there between two brothers.
Dude, I would have had a feud for the whole. What they used to do at Hogan and Macho Man.
Yes.
Have a feud for the whole year, and then culminate it at WrestleMania 11.
Yep.
It'd be a lot better than that crap main event they had. WrestleMania 11 was was it Undertaker Diesel?
I don't remember. That was what, 95?
I think it was. Yeah, and I don't even know if that was the year they had Bam Bam Bigelow versus Lawrence Taylor. Was that? I think that was 11. That was the WrestleMania after WrestleMania 10. I'm pretty sure. I know people might quote me wrong on here, but because 12 was Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels in the Iron Man match. 13 was, maybe it was 13, because 13 was in Chicago, and the thing that standed out in Chicago was Stone Cold versus Bret Hart in the I Quit match. But was that the main event? It was either 11 or 13. I'm going with 11.
I would say 11 over 13.
No, I'm saying that where they had that piece of crap match, Bam Bam Bigelow versus Lawrence Taylor.
I would say 11.
That was horrible. I mean, nobody liked it. I mean, absolutely horrible. And what WWE should have done was have that great build up between two brothers. Yep. You have him he beat you at WrestleMania 10, and then you ended up winning at WrestleMania 10. Your brother just beat you, but then you win the world title. Man, build that up, and then you do do what they do now. Like, all right, now you guys are a tag team. Now you guys ain't. Now you guys are going to go against each other in Survivor Series. Now the Royal Rumble comes up. Bret Hart goes against some bum for the world title, you know. But Owens in the Royal Rumble and does a good showing because at the time, whoever won the Royal Rumble didn't automatically get a world title shot.
Yep.
So, but have Owen do so good at the Royal Rumble, and Bret comes down and cheer him on and distracts him. And be like, come on, Owen. And then Owen gets thrown out, and Owen's like, are you kidding me? Why did you come out? I was doing good at the Royal Rumble. There was only 5 people left. You come out and start cheering me on? He's like, you distracted me. Get the back. I don't want to be your brother anymore. I beat you once. I beat you again. Coleman stayed to WrestleMania 11. Brother versus brother for the world title. I mean, would have been huge.
Yep.
Would have been huge just for that little time.
WWE, Vince, at the time, they dropped the ball.
That's when Vince wasn't Vince. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He didn't know the attitude area, the attitude era, like take the dagger in the heart and piss off people. And he pissed off people putting bad quality wrestling on TV. That's how he pissed people off, but he didn't know better at the time.
Yeah.
And then he became kind of smart, and then started doing the attitude era.
I think Vince is more lucky than smart.
Yeah. But I would say 60-40 though.
Yeah.
Because
close.
He puts him like, hey.
He did put some good stuff together.
He has a mind like this month at the time with the Attitude Era. He would think of some sick stuff. Like, all right, I want this to happen. I want this to happen. And hey, if you got to be like, you know, I'm cheating on Linda and I'm making out with Trish in front of Linda. You know, I mean, like he was a. God,
Yeah.
It was. That's what I'm waiting for, Steph. Steph's gonna actually start humping, Roman Reigns and
bring some of that old school stuff back.
And then
awesome.
Roman Reigns and Steph are gonna start going out, and there's gonna be like Steph and Triple H having a divorce. And
now, see what you do. What you do is you get somebody because Roman can't really pull a promo together. You got to put somebody who's got good mic skills up like Jericho and bring back the whole Stephanie Jericho thing. The way those two would nag at each other. Bring back, Ziggler would probably be a good one for it. You could have, who else?
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, if you do the Roman Reigns thing with Steph's great on the mic. Steph's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Steph
hands
is,
down, yeah.
she can talk like there's no tomorrow. So then Triple H, like, walks in on Roman Reigns and Steph talking, and, like, how Steph used to walk in on Triple H and Trish, and he's showing her the moves, and he's, like, putting her from behind and stuff like that, and she's like, what's going on?
Yeah, anyway.
He's like, no, but...
Little off topic there.
Sorry, we went on.
So, yeah,
It was a good number,
Owen Hart.
2.
Yeah.
Owen Hart was a great man. Great wrestler.
Yeah, but... Okay, but we're going to end off here at number 1 guy. Pretty obvious guy.
Second. Number 1.
Number 1. Tension's building.
It's a great number.
Great number 1.
Awesome. It's not this guy, because he won major.
There it is. Roddy Piper, our number 1 guy, who never won a major title, the big title in any company.
Which he should have.
He should have been a good 4 or 5 time world champ. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, WWE shit the bed on this one when not giving him a big title, not giving him a chance.
WCW shit the bed on this one. We can say shit now, so that's good. Good to know.
Just sucks. That guy was the best talker in the company, probably the best talker in the company of all time. I would actually probably put him up there as or at least the greatest shit talker.
He was
hands down. The guy,
he was just great. I mean, now you think about it, when what he did for WrestleMania 1 with Hulk Hogan and Mr. T and Bob Orton and Paul Orndorff was there. Paul Orndorff couldn't talk his way out of a freaking paper bag, and he couldn't wrestle either. He just had the look. Paul Orndorff was horrible, but Roddy Piper could wrestle, and then he had that brawling style, and he tells you that's how he wrestled. So it wasn't like he was like, yeah, I'm Mr. Perfect and I can wrestle like him. Piper's like, I'll beat the crap out of you. Do
And
what
then
I
he
got
did
to
it.
do, and he did it. And
He
was
proved
like,
what
I'm
he
not
said.
a great wrestler, but I am a hell of a professional wrestler. That's what you need to be. You don't need to be a great wrestler. You need to be a great professional wrestler, and that's what Piper was. And let the record show, this dude did not win a major title, not Intercontinental or not tag or nothing. His first major was Intercontinental title, like in 1991.
Yep.
That's insane. He retired. The first retirement he had was at WrestleMania 3. That was his last match versus Adrian Adonis in a hair versus hair match. And he came in. No, actually, I forgot who he wrestled, but it was the Dream Team versus Adrian Adonis and his partner. It's all fuzzy, but Piper came out, shaved his head. Or no. I'm getting so excited about Piper. It was Adrian Adonis versus Rowdy Piper, and it was Rowdy Piper's last match. The Dream Team was Brutus the Barber Beefcake and Greg the Hammer Valentine. It was managed by Jimmy Hart. Well, they had the strongest man in the world at the time, Dino Bravo. They were all part of the Dream Team. Well, anyways, they split up. So Brutus the Barber Beefcake was born at WrestleMania 3. Watch it. So Rowdy Piper versus Adrian Adonis. Rowdy Piper gets him in a sleeper, knocks him out. Here comes Brutus the Barber Beefcake. Shaves his head, gets up. Piper's last match. He goes out, winner. Comes back at WrestleMania 5, does the Piper's Pit with Brother Love and Morton Downey Jr., the talk show host. And watch that. That is so good. Just so many. Piper was awesome. Piper was the best. If I could,
Piper's my top 3 of all time.
if I could be a wrestler and act like the way I do, I think that's why I think I liked Dean Ambrose so much. I think Dean Ambrose had so much Piper in him.
Well, yeah,
it's insane.
Well, the thing with Ambrose, you could bind Punk, you could bind Piper and
But the crazy,
what's his name?
Such a
Pillman.
dick. Oh yeah, Pillman. But Piper would. I mean, if you watch Piper, Pillman was all about in his later years. Now Pillman was that high flyer, but when he was in WWE in the Attitude Era, he was a nut job.
Yeah,
and he was awesome at it too.
Which is where you kind of get that Dean Ambrose thing from.
Yeah, but watch Piper when he was he would sit there and talk to you, and he's like, "Oh, so you think you're?" And he would go like this, and he's like,
Yes.
I don't think you're nothing, and then he would do this all the time because of Superfly Jimmy Snuka.
Mm-hmm.
He just I see Piper doing this more than I do Superfly. He took that away from Superfly when he knocked us
with the coconut. That's where the Piper legacy started.
God, he was so good, and he could talk.
The guy could talk like nobody else. He that was his main thing. He could talk. I mean, he was a better talker than Punk.
Never the biggest guy in the world. Punk was never the big. Yeah, I mean, if you know how to talk like a champ, just have people hate you or love you.
Yep.
Piper did it both ways. CM Punk did it both ways. Even though if you look body to body, fucking Piper was a little bit more muscular at times, but let the record show a lot of that funny stuff.
Yeah.
The funny juice was going around at the time. But Piper still,
if he was running wild.
If he was still doing that, he was still not the biggest guy. He was never even close to being as big as Hulk Hogan or anybody. Superfly was super jacked up on steroids, and Piper just went one-on-one with him. Piper named WrestleMania 7. WrestleMania 6. I apologize. It's WrestleMania 8. I apologize again. I'm trying to think of Piper's when he left and came on. WrestleMania 8. Indianapolis.
To die, by the way, so.
Oh shit. Okay.
So.
All right, real quick. WrestleMania 8. Indianapolis Hoosier Dome. Rowdy Piper versus Bret the Hitman Hart Intercontinental title match. Best match of all time for the Intercontinental title. Watch it, love it, learn it. Awesome. Piper lost, but best match of all time for the Intercontinental title.
Yes, I do remember that. I've only seen it once. I think I actually watched it on WWE Network when I had it for a week. Great match, amazing
for
match.
For the Intercontinental title, best match. Bulldog Bret was good too. That's why Bret was the best.
I mean, if you go in the past real quick before the battery dies, the Intercontinental title back in the days were a hell of a lot more entertaining than the WWE,
Yes.
WWF titles.
Yes.
They're so much better.
That's, you know what? That's another episode right there.
Yeah. When we
You
talk about that
compare
next week.
world and intercontinental matches. We should write that down.
Yes.
Because I know we're running out of time.
Yes, but we're getting it off there. As I said, Piper's 1, Henning is 2. We had Tito Santana at 3, Goldust at 4, and Scott Hall at 5, with our honorable mentions being Owen Hart, and of course Magnum TA, a few others that we may get into another day. But anyway, one thing I'm going to get into real quick, I know in our past videos we have talked up Dolph Ziggler quite a bit. I actually got contacted by Dolph over Twitter. Next week in an episode, he actually wants to call in and do a quick little 2 or 3 minutes interview on the phone. You know, it's akin to surprises us since our show just started, but it'll be really exciting because you know, we're a couple of biggest Ziggler marks. So be sure to stay tuned for that next week. That'll probably
next week, Dolph
we're
Ziggler.
gonna have Dolph Ziggler live on the phone here next week. Gonna be great. So be sure to like and follow Twitter and Facebook. Stay up to date on when that's gonna happen. Also be sure to like this video, give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Don't forget to put a comment down below in the comments section to give us your top 5, and if you had any disagreements with us, go ahead and put your opinions about each one. And as always, guys, or real quick, don't forget to subscribe to our channel also. And as always, guys, you know, Bill Alex, Second City Sleeper signing out. You too. We'll see you guys later.